Good evening, everyone, and welcome to School on Wheels online workshop, Turning Obstacles into Opportunities. My name is Natasha Bayus, and I'm the Education and Training Coordinator for School on Wheels. I'm happy to have with me in the room Mary Galvin, Director of Operations for the Ventura Charter School, and Linda Huddle, School on Wheels Ventura Regional Coordinator. So the majority of this workshop will be dedicated to answering your questions about obstacles you feel impact your tutoring. For the purpose of sound quality, all participants are currently muted. You have the ability to ask questions using the questions pane shown here. Let's bring this up. And just type in the question and hit send if you want to have something answered. We'll select the order for the questions, and in most cases read your questions aloud so that the audio is clear. But if we require elaboration on the question or issue, we may ask if you can add more information and unmute your microphone. If you'd like to offer comments or suggestions in response to another tutor's questions, please type them and I will read them or open up your microphone so you can elaborate. Please keep your questions or suggestions brief and to the point so we can have as many individuals participate as possible. If we don't get to your question, please feel free to email it to myself or your regional coordinator after the workshop. So you've joined today's workshop listening through your computer speaker system by default. If you have a pair of headphones handy, I suggest using them to hear the audio more clearly. So that's all the introductions, but let's get to who's in the room here with me. At this time, I'd like to introduce Linda and Mary and have them talk a little bit about themselves and their background.
Hi, this is Linda Huddle. I'm the Regional Coordinator for School on Wheels in Ventura County. And I'm excited to be here where we can talk today about some of the things that we want to address with the students. I've worked for School on Wheels for almost 4 years now, and before that worked for the County Office of Education in their homeless program. It's a pleasure to be a part of School on Wheels.
Thanks, Linda.
Hi, and my name is Mary Galvin. I'm the Director of Operations for Ventura Charter School here. It's a kindergarten through 8th grade school. We have about 300 students. And prior to being an administrator for the school, I taught for about almost 20 years. Most of my teaching experience has been in the K through K1, K2 level. So I'm happy to help and answer any questions I can and provide any kind of school perspective for you. If you have any questions related to your student, your child as it relates to school, or happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you. We really appreciate you guys being here. First, I'm going to start with a poll just to find out who's out there and a little bit more about our tutors listening right now. So the first question we have is, how long have you been with your current student? So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll, and you can go ahead and participate in that. Just click on what applies to you the most. We have different lengths of service. Get some answers in here. I just want to see if you're new to School on Wheels or more experienced. Doesn't mean anything either way usually, but that's right. Let's see. I think I'll close it now. Okay, so now I can share it with you. See. Let me see if I can. Oh, here it is. Let's see. So we had. It's kind of tied. I guess most of the participants between 1 to 3 months, so still pretty new. Less than 1 month, a lot of people, and then but there are a few people over a year. So we have a few experienced tutors out there. The second one I wanted to use as a poll to ask you a specific question, just to get some more background in here, is what do you see as your greatest obstacle in tutoring? And just answer one, what you feel has been maybe the most difficult for you. Is it educational gaps? Is it behavioral or motivation issues? Or do you feel it's your lack of knowledge or insufficient skill set that maybe you just don't have the tools to work with your student?
The last one was kind of a bell curve, huh?
Yeah, I guess
It's pretty good.
getting a few more answers in here. Just wait a second. Just fun to see who's here. All right, let's see. So we have 22% said educational gaps. Only 11% said lack of knowledge or insufficient skill set. Well, that's good. But 67% said behavioral and motivation issues. I guess not a surprise. And that's what we're here for. We'll try to help you through some of these specific scenarios. And in our tutor training, most of you have attended because it is a mandatory part of the application process. But if you haven't attended a tutor training, if you've been a tutor for a long time and you just and you started before we offer that, please do come because we talk a lot about behavior and specific strategies that can help you create a positive session and make sure that you highlight your students' strengths. So I will just put that plug in there to attend one near you. So let's see. Going back to some basics here. In the tutor training, actually, we talk about the role of the tutor, and I just wanted to reiterate what that means in being a part of School on Wheels. And what we expect from our tutors, and we hope that you can give to your student, is consistency, filling in the gaps, providing structure and positive encouragement, and most importantly, of course, is a love of learning and make it fun. And so just remember those things as you go along in your role as a tutor. And to start on a positive note as well, as far as what you've accomplished, you as a tutor, we've tutored over 1,500 homeless students in 2011, and you've helped us distribute 6,400 new backpacks filled with school supplies, 349 school uniforms, 133 re-enrollments into public school, 7,400 bus tokens, and you helped us choose 4 students who received a School on Wheels scholarship. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think so too. A lot.
Definitely. So what we want to do in return is help you with giving you some support and a hand of encouragement and to answer your questions tonight and give you some background. And so it's really going to be open now to having you ask questions. We have a few questions that were submitted ahead of time, so I may start with a couple of those while you're thinking about more questions to ask. And just to give you some background too, I didn't really explain my background, but I've been with School on Wheels for 5 years, and I have a master's in school counseling, so hopefully I can provide a little bit of the behavioral issues. But I know Mary also, being an educator, she has a great background and has worked with many teachers and counselors. So one of the questions that was submitted ahead of time is, let's see, should we start with the general one? My student does not seem motivated to be in school. That's a hard one. I always struggle with this. We did have a workshop last month that was motivating the unmotivated, and that's available on our website. We have a lot of great strategies for a professional tutor. Do you want to tackle that, Mary, or is that pretty big for you?
Do you want to recap what maybe you covered in that, just some top things and from your perspective, and is it motivated at school or in the tutoring session?
I think the one we had covered a little bit of both, but I think this question is specific to motivated to be in school, to actually be in the classroom. And a lot what we talked about is the students feeling maybe that they don't have the knowledge, that they are not prepared, that they can't succeed. And so that can come across as a lack of motivation and that they just don't care about anything. But it's really, that's a reaction to being, to feeling that they're not smart enough to handle things. They've missed so much school. Why bother? And I'm sure that you've seen that with all students, not just homeless students, but Maybe, do you have any more insight on that in general?
As I said, most of my experiences with K through 8, that grade level, and I know from being a teacher myself and working at the charter school where we are now, is that children are instinctively motivated to learn. They're curious people. They are. I haven't met a kid who is not eager to learn and is not curious about their life and their world around them. I can see in certain situations why school may not be a very rewarding experience, especially if it's not. They've changed schools a lot and they don't have relationships established with anybody at that school. So I think the tutor, it always goes down for me and students and our students is relationships, relationship building with that student, making that student feel that somebody cares about him or her, and finding out what it is that motivates that child. What is that child's passion or spark? Are they interested in insects? Are they interested in seashells or butterflies, or what is it that, or sports, or whatever that thing is that sparks a child? That's what I would find out as soon as possible, just by getting, my focus for the initial sessions would be more of just getting to know and what motivates and what drives that child, and then try to build relationships, sharing things that you have to share about that topic, bringing in things, about items of interest, sharing things that they might not have or opening up that a little bit further for them, and then just kind of working with them academically, certainly, but I think only after you've really understood a little bit more about that kid, because I think it's really hard for a child to care about you or to care about what you're trying to do with them unless they know that you care about them. So to me, it always comes down to relationships, building that relationship.
This actually leads into another question that was posed right now from Scott Preston. I don't know if that's Scott or Donna, because I know they tutor together with their son, but it says, they ask, if I tutor for 1 hour, approximately how much time should be focused on bonding with the student, and do you have any suggestions on bonding techniques? I'll open it up to either of you.
One of the suggestions I know that we've given in the orientation and training is to spend a little time at the beginning of your session just catching up from the week before, maybe 5 minutes at the beginning, and finding out how the student's week was, sometimes asking them what the best thing that happened in their week or the most difficult thing, and maybe sharing a bit about yourself as well. And also I think it helps to ask them, what they want to focus on, what their priorities for the week are. What would you like to
I think that's always good, is to kind of ask them what is it that they hope to get out of this. In some cases, the child may not have choice in whether they're being tutored or not, which might also affect their motivation. So I think just having just an open relationship and an honest line of communication with the student to talk about that, and to let them know it's okay to let them to tell you as the tutor how they're feeling, whether they're not happy about it, just to try and keep that line of communication open. And that's really important.
I was telling Natasha earlier today about a tutor who had a little boy in first grade that would say he had completed his homework, and the tutor would ask him to show it to her, and finally he would get it out and it had been done wrong. And I think there was a time when he was a little unsure as to how to do something and embarrassed about asking. So once they had that relationship developed, like you said, Mary, then he could feel a little more safe about sharing his own questions.
Well, and too, a lot of it goes to what you, as the adult, can notice that the homework is wrong, and then not focus on that. Let him put it away, and then make a mental note, okay, we need to work on this, and not confront them directly on, oh, you don't know this, do you? Or this is hard for you, or just maybe just kind of make a mental note of things and be prepared either at that session or the next one for some review in that topic, and not really just kind of allow them to save face, if you will, of because children feel good when they can accomplish something, when they get an idea, and conversely, if they know everybody else is getting it except them, and if their homework is always wrong and everybody else's homework is always right, that's a huge self-esteem issue. So children gain self-esteem by accomplishment and by learning and how to do. So your goal is really to try and help them feel some sense of accomplishment, no matter how small it seems.
Yeah, and since we did open it up, we asked tutors to, if they had comments and suggestions. I just want to read one from Michael Geiser. I don't know if I pronounced your last name right, but it says motivation requires two things: a belief that the activity or behavior is of value, and a belief that the individual will succeed in the activity. So motivation can be enhanced by discussing with the student how the activity subject can help them in the long run, and also help them to be honest about how they might be struggling with it, to feel more comfortable getting help. And most students would rather be perceived as bad than as dumb. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's really hard for anybody to admit that they don't know something. I mean, that opens up a whole aspect of vulnerability that a lot of people don't want to open up,
mm-hmm.
and children included.
Adults too.
Yeah, exactly. We all don't want to admit what we don't know.
So let me take one of our other questions. I know we talked about this a little bit before we started, but this was submitted. My student is an athlete and a scholar. He gets really good grades and loves to learn. He's always good with me during our tutoring sessions. However, his mom tells me that he's been getting in fights at school and being defiant to female teachers. He doesn't seem to act out with men. I feel like he needs help dealing with his emotions more than anything else, but I'm no therapist. Is there anything I can do during my tutoring sessions to help him, or should I just stick with the academics? So I was going to just start by saying, as a School on Wheels tutor, we are focused primarily on academics, but we understand that there's there's behavioral issues that come up which prevent that focus from being carried out. But we aren't trained as counselors. You may have a different background, but we don't prepare you for being a therapist or a counselor. So Mary had some suggestions specifically on how you could approach the school and maybe some other things you could do to try to deal with that behavior problem.
Yeah, I think it's always a great idea if you are sensing, and if the parent, I assume this came up because the parent shared with the tutor a problem. So maybe just asking the parent would certainly ask her advice if there's anything that she thinks you might be able to work with that student on specifically, or just a general sense of what may be going on. Also just connecting with the teacher and at school somehow to just let the teacher know that you're the tutor and you're working with this student on XYZ in terms of academics, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help support him in his social skills at school. And certainly you don't want to get involved into the crossing a line of becoming a counselor or therapist for the child, but social emotional safety is huge, and any way that a child can feel safe emotionally with you and hopefully having that extend to the other relationships at school would be great.
Anything else, Linda?
I think that's really important for the tutor to be a part of the school if that's possible, and communicating with the teacher.
Yeah, and the school, because the school can step in also and may or may not be able to share information like, yes, we've put the parent or the family in touch with some resources to help support the child. That way, it just may fill in the gaps for the tutor to make you as the tutor feel maybe more comfortable that things are being handled. Just if you can, try and communicate with the teacher and with the school to let her know that you're aware and that you're would love to help support in any way that you can.
It also helps everyone feel more positive when they know someone else is working, when we're all working together, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we might as well go on to the other question we had about my TT's teacher has not communicated with me, although I've approached her twice via my student and letter. How can this be accomplished as I feel this would help me and my student?
Yeah, I think I find that teachers are really pretty accessible by email. I don't think they, I know personally from our experiences that letters sent via the child or through backpacks or binders usually don't work, and certainly not depending on the child to communicate messages back and forth. That would not be a good idea. I think the best thing to do is just directly email the teacher. The school usually has a list of staff, find out what the school is, and the staff, there's always a staff listing of emails. If that doesn't work, I would call the school. A good time to call the school is after school's been, when the teachers are still on campus, but maybe class is dismissed like between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And if you can often get a hold of a teacher at that time, if they're still working in their classrooms, or if that doesn't work, just leave a message with the office to have that teacher call you back, please, and let her know who you are and why you're calling so that they have an understanding that this is an important contact to follow up with. And but I would find that most teachers would be eager to, if I learned that somebody was trying to help one of my students, I'd be more than happy to establish communication and say, could you help them in this, or could you spend, we've moved on, but this is something that he or she really needs. Would you be willing to work on that with them? Mm-hmm. And I think that would be a really helpful conversation to have with teachers.
Most middle schools and high schools have an online website, too, that tutors can check out. Do elementary schools have that?
No.
If the parents are willing to share that information, or the student?
Mm-hmm. Like with homework and what they're working on. Yeah, I think a lot of the bigger school districts do now, and I'm sure there's going to be more and more. So you could at least keep up on the general subjects, but then I think the teacher can usually provide a lot of good specific information, especially for younger students when you kind of, you forget like the little steps you have to take to learn sentence structure, right? And it's just, you just kind of think, oh, just do it. There's so many things that you can concentrate on. Actually, I had my own question related to the teacher and being. Do you think it's ever a strategy that you could use to ask the teacher to do alternative homework or something else? Especially with older kids, we have trouble where they're working on algebra problems and it's way beyond them, and you can see that.
I think that's completely irresponsible of a teacher to give homework to a student that they're incapable of doing. I think it just defeats the whole purpose. So absolutely, it's something that I would broach with the teacher and just say, would you be willing? Here's what I'm trying to do, and here's what I'm working on. But I'm noticing that the homework is way above his or her level. Would you be willing to allow us to do something, either send home something with him or allow us to work on something at a lower level? And if even not doing that, I would just figure out myself as a tutor where the gaps, just back it up and just start at the lower level and just start filling in those holes, even just put the homework off the table. Mm-hmm. and just work on what that student needs, because clearly that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I think it's hard for the tutors because they want to help the student get that homework done and get that credit, but it's not going to help.
No, it's not really helping the student at all to help to learn. And the goal is not to me, the goal is not to fill out the paper, but to get the kid, to get the learning happening. So to give them that confidence to build on into the next step.
Mm-hmm. All right. We had a question from Donna. Oh, I'm sorry. Donna had a comment too. I just want to read that. Okay, well, we're talking about teachers here. She said, I've contacted several teachers who refuse to respond and have had to contact the school counselor for help. Any?
That's baffling to me. I don't understand why a teacher wouldn't respond, but I would not, as a tutor, feel the necessity to contact. I mean, I would just continue to do my work and understanding where you are with that student, and just keep working on what you think they need to work on. And unless there's some overwhelming reason that you need to talk to the teacher, I would just give it up, I guess, if they're not willing to establish communication. I don't understand why that would be the case. That's mind-boggling to me, but I would certainly continue working at the level and just basically helping the student out the best you can.
And then Donna also had another question. Donna's a great tutor in the Valley, so I want to make sure her questions get answered. How do you get a student to focus when he or she's hungry and having a bad day? My current student is having terrible family problems, goes to a babysitter who won't let her and her brother and sister do homework while at the babysitter's house. So she and they are focused on the babysitter situation. When she gets to the sessions at 6:30, it's hard to get her to settle. The tutors for the entire family tutor at the same time and work with the mom. All are trying to figure out how to help the students focus. It's a long question, Donna, but that's okay. Let's see. That's kind of a two-parter.
Well, just in terms of timing of the session, I mean, if you're trying to tutor a child at dinner time after a long, crazy, busy day, that's not going to work. I just think you need to find a tutoring time session, plan it, and schedule it at a time that they're going to be more accessible. Certainly they can't focus if they're hungry and if they're exhausted. So that's a problem.
Yeah, it's hard for us sometimes because we do have restrictions at the locations, and there's only like an hour or two open for tutoring, and we try to work around that. But I think. Do you have any thoughts?
Are you allowed to bring snacks?
Sometimes, yeah, definitely. We just check with the mom in the location, and certainly
Just a power bar or something.
Yeah. Yes. Snacks.
Thinking in terms of the inability to concentrate, sometimes you just need to set the tutoring aside and be together and listen.
Well, what I was tutoring a student, and it was happening at that time, and she was extremely distracted, especially the place we were doing it. The window, she was looking through a window at the community room where dinner was being served that she wasn't getting to eat yet. So we tried to work where I situated her so her back wasn't, that she wasn't facing all the action and the activity outside the window. But I also just did a whole lot of, to me, they were hands-on games and activities. They weren't paper pencil things, so that she was more engaged in playing games. And I changed activities up frequently because, first of all, their attention spans are shorter now. And in a 1 hour session, I wouldn't ever stick with one activity for 1 hour. It's again, I'm just working with younger kids, but I'd have 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 different activities, shifting and moving so that they're keeping engaged and they're keeping interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we get a lot of questions about structuring the hour, and something we go over in the tutor training, but it's, that's early in the beginning before the tutors are assigned students. But, we always say, make sure you start your session by talking with the students. Say, what do you want to learn tonight? What do you want to cover? What's your greatest needs for that session? And then break it up and making sure, like you said, have multiple activities. Do a little bit of math, a little bit of English, and then we ask the tutors to do supplemental activities from our academic or our bus programs. The academic program is from K through 7, which has assessments and worksheets that they can focus in on those gaps specifically. And then the bus program is for 8th through 12th graders, and that's to connect education to future goals. So, we still encourage that, and if it's been a while since you heard that, I hope that helps a little bit. And then always leave some time at the end of the session for saying, okay, let's go over what we learned today, and, write it out or make a little diagram or anything. It just gives it more impact if they can hear what they've accomplished, and that it's not much time, but if you split it up into that, you're going to have to do a few different things in that session and keep their attention. And if you have a kindergarten student and, they're only going to work for a half an hour, that's fine. Just
That's pretty good for kindergarten.
Yeah, right, I know. So don't expect an hour out of every student. That's certainly not going to happen. Let's see. What else do we have here? And I think I just noticed a comment from Michael, again, on the parent permission. And I don't know if I was trying to keep track of the technical here too, but I don't know if we covered it. But he said it's essential that the teacher knows that parent permission has been granted for exchange of information between the school and tutor. So we do have permission slips for that, and we make sure that the parent signs them. I think we usually try to give them back through the student, but we'll make sure that maybe the tutors can get them there another way, and maybe we can scan them for them or at any time if you want to do that, and get them to the teacher so they know that that's been signed off. Let's see.
There was a question about sharing with a school. If it is a school on wheels student or not, and whether or not it's a good idea to identify that the child is homeless. Do you have any thoughts about that, Mary?
The school should know whether their student is homeless or not. That's their responsibility to know that. So is that the question, that you'd be afraid of letting the school know that they're homeless?
Well, we, at School on Wheels, we encourage our tutors, if they are contacting the teachers, to to just say that they are a volunteer working with the student for 1 hour per week, and not to go into more details than that. We do want to protect the confidentiality of our students, but yes, it is beneficial, on the other hand, when the school knows more about the students, but that's up to the family to disclose. So we don't want to be the ones who alert them to that or to tell them about that. But tutors who've established good relationships with the parents sometimes can encourage that and say, you should approach the school because there are
there's laws
rights
and there's a lot of things available to that family if the school knows. So,
right. Yeah, so it's a difficult issue because certain families don't want that known, and that's not something that we want to that's not our part to tell them that. But
so you just say I'm working with the student, tutoring.
Yeah,
and not necessarily identify.
Right, just a volunteer tutor working with the student, and then that gives them enough background, But we have had situations that come up where it's helpful for the teacher to know that student doesn't have a place to really concentrate on work, and that's a hard conversation. But we do try to go through the parent if that's possible. That that they're in transition right now, and to maybe they can provide a little bit more at school or something like that. There was another question. I have my kindergarten student work nonstop for a solid hour. This is from Jennifer. I shift activities frequently and use a variety of reinforcers. Is it okay, or am I expecting too much of her?
Well, how does she greet you when you show up? I would read the cues. They'll tell you if they're tired or bored, or if they start getting really reluctant to fight a kindergartner, and I was pushing them really hard for an hour. I would really be watching for cues and reading their cues. This child may be a super high-achieving kid that's really eager to learn everything that you got, but that's a long time for a kindergartner, especially if it's happening at the end of a day.
And so she wrote back. She said she really wants to earn those reinforcers, so she sticks with it.
Yeah. Well, to me, the goal is to reinforce love of learning, not reinforce love of extrinsic rewards. We really want to get them to love learning for the right reasons, and it's motivating when we learn things on our own, new things. And at our school, we really don't use extrinsic motivators. I know that I have in a tutoring situation because I think it does help, but I would not over rely on them. I would really want that the child is excited about learning for learning's sake and getting a lot out of that time that you're spending together. Certainly, you're hopefully reading great stories with her and or him, and it could just be a really great time together, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour.
Right.
I think that's true for the tutors too. When you're tutoring, you get that intrinsic value out of it, too, from watching your child grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jennifer added, she pairs the reinforcers with praise, and we know, I'm sure you're doing a great job, Jennifer. And in tutoring, sometimes you do need some kind of reinforcers, and we encourage that with our tutors, especially at that younger level. But yeah, if you can just keep asking her, to summarize what she's accomplished, or make a star for herself. She can make her own reinforcer, I guess, and decorate a star of achieving a certain goals, and Jennifer just added that the student's mom doesn't speak English, so she needs a lot of help, and and I mean, we're really happy that you're there for her, and I wasn't trying to say that a half an hour is too long for a kindergarten student, but just as long as you're shifting activities and you're checking in with the student, I'm sure it sounds like you're doing a great job.
Yeah, and if she can do it, great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Sounds like she wants to learn, huh?
Yeah.
Girl.
Let me ask another question. I'll pose another question here. This is from Catherine. My student's mother wants me to make sure his homework is completed because she can't get him to do it. Well, I'm happy to do that. I know that he needs to focus on reducing gaps in his reading. What can I say to his mother to persuade her I should work on his reading versus getting his homework completed? Or should I just work with him on his homework? That's a good question, because there's always that pressure as being an after-school program or a tutoring program, especially, from the parents expecting that from the tutors, and we tell the tutors not to have that. That's not their responsibility to finish the homework. Their responsibility is to fill in the gaps more. Do you have any comments?
Here's where I would have a conversation with the parent, but the parent's feeling pressure, I'm sure, from the school and from the teacher to get the homework done. So when we have students at our school whose parents say this is over their level, it's too much, the teacher modifies it, and the teacher works with the family and makes it an appropriate adjustment. So here's a case where I would try and ask the teacher, can we modify the homework? Here's what I'm realizing. Your goal and the teacher's goal are the same. She wants to see the gaps filled, and I think her goal or his goal would be more not so much of filling out a worksheet, but really the goal is really to get the gaps filled, not to fill out a paper. So I think that's where conversation with the school and the teacher would come in handy. And then the parent, I'm sure, I would hope that once the pressure is relieved from the teacher, that the parent would feel that relief as well, and then be okay with you working on the skills that need to be worked on in reading.
Maybe that's somewhere the regional coordinator could help too, is by communicating with the parent at the first session, or if it comes up later, that we could speak also with the parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes parents would rather have the tutor do it, because what was that one that mom couldn't do it, or mom didn't have time to do it?
I think she didn't. Yeah, I don't think she had time to do it.
She didn't have time to do it. It wasn't that in that case, it wasn't that the homework was too hard or too much. It was that mom didn't have time to do it.
I'm not sure. I
think it said the child was refusing to do the work with the parent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there could be different situations where it's. I mean, a lot of our parents have difficulty, especially as you get into upper levels. I mean, if they haven't had the educational background themselves,
or if it's in a different language, maybe that was the case.
Yeah.
In that case, if the homework is not too difficult for the student, but you want to spend your time not filling out the paper, maybe figuring out where else in that week or that child's schedule could this person get some homework support.
Mm-hmm.
Either in the after-school program or wherever they are. Is there somebody else in this child's world that could help fill out the papers, or oversee the child to fill out a paper? Is there a homework club, or what is there at school to help them support that?
And I just wanted to mention we do have scholarships through School on Wheels, and therefore breaking down obstacles for students and getting the education they need, and that can be applied for things like professional tutoring. So if you have a student who just needs a lot of help, and we're only there an hour a week, that's very little, it's a great chance you could have them apply for the scholarship and see if they could get extra help for that. So just it's the application's on our website, and you can contact your regional coordinator too, and they can give you the information. So let's see.
You have another question coming in.
Yeah, this is we touched on it a little bit with the last one, but do you have tips on how to get a parent who really doesn't participate in the tutoring process to participate? We know it's important, but sometimes difficult to achieve.
I found sometimes that the parents have not been successful at school, and so they're a little uncomfortable themselves in school. So sometimes maybe helping them to feel more positive.
I don't know. I've only been tutoring a few months, but and maybe it's because I'm an educator, but I don't feel I need the parent, and I don't need the parent's input. I'm not there to teach the parent. I'm there to support the kid. Certainly you want the parent to understand what you're working on and have some understanding, but I found in both the situations I was in, the parent was more than happy just to drop the kid off and go do whatever they needed to do, and they didn't really they just wanted me to help the kid. And I get that. I get that in their situation, that this is a desperate need, and that's what I kept my focus on, and I didn't worry too much about educating mom on the topic or the subject. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I didn't feel an overwhelming need to have the parent sit in on the session, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's difficult because there's such a limited time that sometimes tutors want to have the parents follow up with, making sure the student does, finishes their homework or does something extra to succeed throughout the week. And I think it's a difficult responsibility to put on the parent considering their situation. And I think the school's probably already putting a lot of responsibility. But if the parent reaches out to the tutor, certainly, you should be there and communicate and try to provide them, kind of what you're working on. And
absolutely. If they show an interest, that's great.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I would need them to be there or to show an interest. So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot on their plate if you're tutoring their child.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I would add is just that we do encourage the tutors to touch base with the parents, though, and say, hey, so-and-so did a great job today on their math homework, or, he's really working hard. I know his grades don't always show it, but he's really excited about science right now. Because I think that the parents don't hear a lot of positive encouragement sometimes, and they might hear negatives from the school because the school doesn't understand what's going on, and the shelter has so many rules and regulations, and it really restricts their parenting style and what they feel comfortable doing. So I think giving that would be my choice for your communication with the parent.
Yeah. I think at the end of the session, definitely kind of review with the parent what you did and the successes that you had with them, and leave it on a high note like that.
That's a great suggestion at the end.
Sometimes have the student show to the parent. I would have them, like if they read a little book that they had been reading with me on their own, I'd say, "Here, read this for mom." So show mom what you can do now, and that's always a great note to leave on.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Maybe I'll ask Linda this with her wealth of knowledge. But I tutor in a group situation with 3 other tutors. We have about 7 kids who we work with, and it always runs smoothly until the parents start coming in and out, and the kids get upset or distracted. What's the best way to keep everything running well without upsetting the parents?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I think if the parents are going to be coming in at some point, maybe it's good to have a kind of a plan ahead of time, something you're going to do, whether you read a book together or something that you could have planned as an activity at the ending time, so that they look like they're all calm and everything is running smoothly. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Is that what age level are we talking about, do you think? And is that so 3 tutors are working with 7 kids?
Yeah.
In a room together?
Four tutors with 7 kids, yeah, one room.
In a room together. Yeah. I assume it's like at a home, a shelter?
It's ages 5 through 12.
Can the parents be asked not to come in until a certain time?
I'm trying to wait and see if this is from Blue, and she has a comment on that, but I think we definitely do encourage having a nice, polite conversation, just saying, I noticed that Johnny gets distracted, when you're in. Of course he does, because, he loves to be with his mom. But, so, if you wouldn't mind waiting until 7 o'clock when the tutoring is over to come get him, that would be great. I guess she said they were asked, but they keep coming. Maybe have that conversation again. Yeah.
Yeah. In that case, obviously, when the kids become that distracted, you have to kind of stop what you're doing. No matter what, you're going to have to stop what you're doing. So maybe then, as Linda suggested, have some alternative activity then that everybody could shift to. Maybe a super highly motivating one to wrap things up on, some rousing game of some kind that they would be interested in playing.
Games are always a great way to learn, I think.
Yeah, I almost always use them only.
I'm just curious. We had a question about communicating with the parent again, but in this case, with the language barrier, that the tutor says she can translate to some degree, but the mom doesn't speak English. Do you have suggestions on? I mean, sometimes we can get shelter staff to help, or the student. I don't know how you feel about that. I know some people are mixed on that.
Yeah, I always, in a school setting, we always avoid having a child translate for their parent. I just think it upsets the dynamic of their relationships and our roles. So I would definitely reach out and get another adult translator to help somehow. There's a lot of people around that speak another language, so that I would figure that out, either through School on Wheels or through the school or the shelter, wherever they are, to try and get help with that.
It's important for the parents to be able to communicate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we do have a few staff members who could help.
Yeah, we do. We do have a few Spanish-speaking staff members. So if it's something that can be accomplished over the phone, we could certainly help out on that. But I know it's nice to do it in person as well. Let's see.
The questions keep going in.
Back to the teachers a little bit. I just said I don't think this is from Alicia. I don't think many of the tutors are involved or ever even had a conversation with the teacher. Do you encourage a tutor to speak with the teacher with the parent's permission? I think we covered that a little bit, but yes, I mean, I guess Mary's saying it's not always necessary, but definitely for inexperienced tutors, not being in education, I think it's great to have that input from the teacher just on what to focus on. And it depends on the grade level. It's a little bit more clear sometimes in higher grades, but they have more trouble with it. But in the lower grades, like I said, there's a lot of little things you can cover that you just don't remember how to tackle learning, learning vocabulary or things like that.
And certainly having a conversation with the teacher certainly can make the most of your time. So if the teacher has the insight as to what the biggest need is, that's what you really want to find out so that you can help the student as much as possible. So I would definitely encourage that. And depending on how far behind the student is, if the student's really far behind, that's even more important. If you find that they're pretty much on grade level and they're not struggling too much, less important to me.
And like I said earlier, the teachers usually like to know, don't they, that someone is there.
That's good news.
We have a question. My student sometimes asks me to do her homework for her. This is from a younger tutor who's age 15. I won't reveal her name. Is this okay?
No. Back away from the homework. It's not your job. You already graduated. Or
not
15. No, that's not your homework. It's not the parents' homework. And just on the topic of homework in general, just so you know, the research really supports, and I know some teachers kind of overdo the homework thing. Research supports 10 minutes per grade level. So a first grader should be really doing 10 minutes of homework a night. Wow. Second grader should be doing 20 minutes. And a lot of schools and teachers will give a homework packet for a week. And then, so what may be happening is the tutor is being asked to fill out a whole week's worth of homework in 1 hour session, which is just not appropriate. So I don't know. I think homework is abused by some teachers, and we feel that it certainly needs to be developmentally appropriate, but it also needs to be the student's responsibility. We teach the kids. It's not mom's job. It's not teacher's job. It's your job. And I think one of the questions I was asked earlier was how to get them to help to turn in their homework, and I feel that it's their responsibility to take that on themselves and to learn that, and maybe getting a special folder or a special binder to carry it back and forth in, but that's about the extent of it. I really think kids need to learn how to take that responsibility on themselves.
We're kind of wrapping up here. We only have about less than 10 minutes left. So since you're here, Mary, we just wanted to get some background on charter schools. I know it's more people know more about them now, but it's definitely a newer thing in the education system, and I wanted to just get a little bit of information from you on how they run and how, especially for our students, I'm always curious how they can get in certain charter schools when there's lotteries and it's only,
Right.
It's competitive.
Right. And in the LA area, there's a lot of charter schools. The California legislature enacted the charter school legislation to allow teachers to innovate, to improve student achievement, and to give parents choice, because they really got started in the inner cities, San Francisco, Oakland, and LA, to help these struggling schools with really low-performing scores and tests. And so it's been very empowering for parents to have some choice, but it does take involvement in the parents' perspective. But charter schools, just to backtrack a little bit, they're public schools. They have to follow the same content standards that any neighborhood school, any traditional school does. We have to teach the same standards in all the subject areas. We have to give the same standardized tests at the end of the year, like every school does. We're held accountable. Charter schools have an authorized, the charter just means independent. It means that they are not part of a local district. They're totally autonomous. And that was the intent, is to kind of create competition in the public sector. The legislature intent was to spur some competition, which indeed they have done, because everybody's scrambling to get schools are funded by attendance, students' attendance. So if a student is over at a charter school, that means the neighborhood school is not getting that $6,000 a year that they had been getting. So it has spurred competition. Each charter school is different. They're kind of like the old magnet school idea, where every charter school has its own philosophy, mission, tenet, charter petition, basically. They have to go in front of an authorizer, whether it's the district or the county, and in some cases the state. They have an authorizer, and then if they're approved, they are only approved for 5 years at a time. They have to go back in front of their authorizer every 5 years to get renewed for another 5 years. So there's a tremendous amount of accountability to charter schools. And the authorizer is going to look at, are your test scores up? Are you in the black? Are you financially? Is your leadership and governance in check? So that's what charter schools are. They're just an option, and a different option for parents. So charter schools are very different focuses and themes. Ours is a project-based kind of constructivist, progressive approach, and parents, because it's an alternative and it's not a neighborhood school, parents do need to have some take a proactive position to find out about them, to find out what their options are. In LA, there's a huge movement. I don't think it's as big an issue in LA. I think parents are a lot more aware, especially low-performing schools are more aware of charters than they are in some of the other surrounding counties. But definitely parents need to get involved and get their child on a waiting list, or to go through the process to apply. Mm-hmm. And charter schools are open first come, first serve until there's more applications than seats. Mm-hmm. And once there are more applications than seats, then they go into lottery. They don't automatically go to lottery unless, there's more people that want in than they can fit.
Mm-hmm. And your school goes through 8th grade.
K-8. Summer, there's just every kind of grade level configuration of charter schools in California that you can imagine. So there's some performing arts ones, there's some back to basics ones, there's all kinds of different focuses. And a good resource for charter schools is the California Charter School Association, CCSA, or I think their website was myschool.org. But that'll tell you in an area where it gives you a map of California and focuses in a city or a county where the charter schools are, what their focuses are.
Great. Yeah, I was going to ask if there's something we could, a resource we could use to help parents identify schools in the area, so that sounds good. Let's see. Well, I don't think we have any more questions right now. So we'll wrap it up. Any other comments overall?
Yeah, I think this has been a great conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I learned a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help, and I really enjoyed my experience with School on Wheels too. It's been great for me to get back into teaching. I missed teaching in the classroom, so this has been a really great experience for me to keep in touch with the gift of and the craft and the art of teaching, which it's very very rewarding experience, as I'm sure you all know.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. We just
children, isn't it?
yeah, that's the best part. So we just had a little story that we're going to read as an inspiration to the tutors, especially when you're feeling like it's hard to make a difference. And Linda's going to go ahead and read this. It's the starfish story, and a lot of educators have heard it, I think, especially counselors. But if you haven't heard it, it's really good. So go ahead, Linda.
One day a man was walking along the beach when he noticed a boy picking something up and gently throwing it into the ocean. Approaching the boy, he asked, "What are you doing?" The youth replied, "Throwing starfish back into the ocean. The surf is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them back, they'll die." "Son," the man said, "don't you realize there are miles and miles of beach and hundreds of starfish? You can't make a difference." After listening politely, the boy bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it back into the surf. Then, smiling at the man, he said, "I made a difference for that one." I like that.
Yeah. So thank you again for being a tutor and for giving up your time to help students. And we really appreciate it, but I think the students appreciate it even more. And even if you don't see that on a regular basis, you just know you are making a difference. No matter if you have a student for, a few weeks, a few months, you're a positive impact in their life. And so we're going to have this recorded if you want to listen to it later again for any, if you joined in late or anything and you want to hear some more of the questions and strategies. I think Mary was a great resource. I'm so glad she was here. And Linda, of course, is always a good resource, and I try.
You do a great job.
So we'll try to plan more workshops, and I hope you enjoyed this one. And if you have any questions, any more questions that pop into your head, certainly email myself. I think my email should be connected with the follow-up, or your regional coordinator. So thank you so much, and we'll let you know when the next one is. College Month is starting next month. We're going to have activities specific for all students, K through 12, listed on our website, so we'll send you more information about that. All right, thank you, and have a good evening.